Hi, Johan Allard here with LiquidFiles. Today I wanted to show you some of the new features that are coming in LiquidFiles version 2.5. And the first thing I want to show you is that the interface is now fully responsive. So what that means is that as the screen's size changes, so will the interface component. So you can see now when we're moving down to sort of like a phone size interface, the interface is much nicer, and when we scale up to sort of a tablet, we can now have everything in parallel, and as we grow up to a bigger screen, the interface will fully adjust. And this is not just on like the login screen, this is on all the screens, on all the pages. So same thing here, the interface, we're now sort of down to a tablet size view where the interface has realigned itself, and now we're down to like a phone size view, and the interface has realigned itself so that it still makes sense and still make it easier to use regardless of the size of the device that you're on. And when we have the screen real estate available to us on a larger computer, we can make use of it. So that's going to be a very handy feature, especially if you're using like smaller devices. The next feature I wanted to show you is the drop files feature, which is right here, where instead of selecting like add files and file selectors and so on, we can now just take a file and then just drop it here, and it will automatically be uploaded to the system. So if you prefer that type of interface, that's now available. And that works not just on the compose page, but on the file drop and in the file link as well. So moving on, another really nice feature that has been fairly heavily requested is something that we now call pools. So pool is a pool of permanent files that you can make available for a group of users. So say for instance that we have a group of support users that are constantly sending the same files over and over again, or salespeople, or any use case that you really have, where you have a group of files that are sent by many people. You can now, instead of everyone having to upload their own version of the files, you can now centrally manage that and create these support files. So when you've uploaded this and you have now a pool of support files that was made available to these group of users, then when one of these group of users is logged on, they can select one of those files in the select pool files option here. So this will so if you have more pools, there will be more tabs here for the different pools that these group of users have access to, and they can just select the file here and send it to someone, and they don't actually have to upload it. So perfect for salespeople, support people, or anywhere where you have that type of use case. The next thing, just on the interface that we've cleaned up a little bit or made a little bit easier to use, is that we got a fair amount of support requests on how to disable authentication. So instead of having this sort of dual function that was both access restriction and authentication in one download or one select button, we've now split that into two. It's the same functionality, so it's just we've split out the authentication. So here you enable or disable authentication, and if you enable authentication, you can also specify who has access to access these files, so only the specified recipients and local users, or anyone with access to the randomized link. Speaking of local users, we have also made some changes to the group pages, so the group interface. So it was a little bit clunky, or rather we made sort of the wrong decision early on of having a select one. So it used to be a select function for external users, who sort of the inverted logic, and that turned out to be like a bit of a mess, and not as straightforward as it could be on who had access to those files that were enabled for local users. So now we have changed that role. So basically we have created a local users, which is just the inverted of external users before. So now we have local users. So local users are all your local users, and they will have access to the files that are sent with the permission that anyone, including local users, can access these files, and so on. On the groups page, we have also added a couple of groups. So there was a little bit of confusion, really, what the receive only group of users was that a group for external users or for local users. So now we've changed the existing receive only group and made that for external users receive only, and created a new local users receive only group. So the local users receive only group, in difference from the external users, they will have access to files. So if you send files with the permission that anyone and local users, or sorry, specified recipients and local users can access, they will have access to those files. And they will also have access, or you can set them so that they have access to file drops. So, and on default they do. So if we look on file drops, we can see that the default for the local users receive only group is that they can also access file drops. So that's going to be pretty handy for local users when you don't want them to send files to external users. They can still receive files both with file drops and messages sent with the specified recipients and local users permission. And we have also enabled, added another group, user admins. So the user admins group, this is a group this is a group for admins that does not have access to the messages and the download logs and any of the settings. So they can only administer users. So if you have support people that they should only be able to add or remove users or check users on the system, you can add them to the user admins group, and they will only have those permissions. And finally, just a couple of more settings that I wanted to highlight. We have added a checkpoint for enable autocomplete, so frequent response. A lot of security auditors have the opinion that disabling autocomplete will improve security for the organization, and the previous method was to just add a bit of JavaScript that disable that for the user, and it is really just a hint anyway. And now we have added that as a checkbox here. So if you disable this checkbox, then there won't be any the users won't be able to, or rather we will hint to the browser that please don't save the passwords for this logon. And also for updates from we have added beta releases, but we've also added the update functionality, so or auto update. So especially now, with the recent OpenSSL vulnerabilities that has plagued the world for some time, if you're worried about that sort of thing, and you probably should be, then you can enable the auto update system. So that won't update the LiquidFiles application, but that will update the underlying system operating system. So CentOS will be updated daily with the latest functions such as OpenSSL and all the other operating system. If you select auto update all, that means that everything, including the LiquidFiles application, will be updated daily and kept up to date to the latest release. This will be the default setting for new installations, but for if you're updating from a previous installation, the setting will be only update antivirus daily, which is how it is currently set. So that was some of the features in LiquidFiles 2.5. Hope you enjoyed this video, and hope you enjoy the latest LiquidFiles release. Thank you.